Hello YouTube, Sniping is Fun here, and this is going to be a somewhat, hopefully, semi-quick video of me showcasing the entire roster for my edit of WWF WrestleMania 2000 on the N64, Game Chasers vs. the World. You've seen the little video that I did the intro like about a week ago, almost, and I posted that on YouTube. Now I'm going to showcase the roster, and when this is done, and it's 100% complete now. I got everything set up that I want to send out. It's going to the Game Chasers, custom case and everything. You'll probably be seeing stuff like that on this channel within the next week. So, there you go. Ha ha ha. The roster. Everybody is here. We got Billy in different costumes. So I basically made the Game Chasers page entirely Billy, Jay, Melvor, Dodongo, Tim, and Chris. And if you see some of these costumes, you're going to notice that if you've been watching the Game Chasers for as long as I have, especially since the beginning, you're going to see some references to names. You're going to see some references to costumes from across their channel. Like Billy Slasher. That was his name in the original SmackDown vs. Raw when they did the whole call thing years ago, showing off their great wrestlers. And Billy Ballistic was the SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. So I tried to go along with that. So there you go. Billy was simple. I just had to go for classic Billy because New Age Billy and Billy with weird beards. This game is hard when it comes to using hats because there's no hats outside entrances, and beards because there's not really many beard options. So some of these people are very, very out there with their creations. Jay, Shady Jay Hunter. This is I kind of took my own costume and kind of made one that looks similar to, I think, his original SmackDown vs. Raw or his SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 though. And then Big Daddy Jay, that's his name from SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, and a costume that's similar to the one whenever you see them do live streams on Shady Jay, like that's his character, just longer hair and gloves. Melvor, nice and simple. His weird shirts, this, that, and right here, if you've seen their SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 or 7 thing, it's trying to make him look... Oh my god, I can't believe... I would love to see their reaction when they see that. Dodongo, some pretty decent costumes. And also, since it's an edit of the entire roster, all these characters, besides the ones that have gray nameplates, are wrestlers on the roster that were edited. And in order, Billy is Rock, Jay is Austin, Melvor is Shawn Michaels, Dodongo is Mankind, Tim is Billy Gunn, and Redneck Chris is Triple H. Those are costumes for Tim and Chris. Let me get this. Oh, okay, that works. That works a lot better. I'm trying to get the hand before it falls off. Okay, then there are 4 pages of YouTubers, and oh, sorry about that. I tried to make a roster as close to their channel as possible. For the most part, it's people that the Game Chasers would know or have interacted with, and then there's a few thrown in there that I'm like, well, they make sense for YouTubers. We got Alpha Omega Sin first, who's Undertaker. No, not Undertaker. Kane. He's Kane. And then Rob Man from Happy. If you watch Happy Console Gamer, which he's on the bottom of the screen, that's Rob Man. Ape Eric that's Undertaker. Longer hair, like I said, he has long hair and a long beard now. That's impossible in this game. I threw a secondary version of Rob Man here with white pants and red shirt. And then Joey Spector, because if you all know, Ape Eric is an actual indie wrestler. Gaming historian Norm. Long-haired version too. His last 2 costumes are Angry Joe, which I recall being somewhat connected to the Game Chasers back in the day through like a convention or something. Pat the NES Punk without and then with a beard. Costume for Ian. Costume for Frank. Metal Jesus Rocks with the goatee. Metal Jesus Rocks when he used to not have the goatee. And then Radical Reggie, which isn't necessarily connected to the Game Chasers, but he is connected to and knows Metal Jesus Game Sack Joe and Game Sack Dave is next, you see. But every alternating costume is Pixel Game Squad. There's Riff, and back to Joe, then Riff, Game Sack Dave, then you got Ricky, Dave, Ricky. Then we have the Happy Console Gamer. What was his name? Johnny Millennium or something? You can see him on Twitter. And it's like newer version of him, like with beard and stuff and glasses. And then like the younger self when he used to not wear glasses and he was clean shaven. And then I have Fraser from Far From Saul, which I'm actually surprised I didn't know he knew the Game Chasers. So that right there is page 1. Give me a second before I go and freaking give myself a freaking collapsed lung or some crap just hanging over the side of the bed trying to do that. He's here, page 2. We got Wood, Beat 'em Up from Beat 'em Up with Hawker. And then I got, like, his workout gear. Like, when I was looking up pictures, because I had to go do a lot of research to even try to remotely make these characters look as close as possible. I came across, like, him in, like, workout gear, like he was training or working out or something. So I'm like, well, that could be a cool costume. Then the second, third, and fourth costumes are Brento Floss. One of which is his Mr. Clean! We got John Riggs. Yes, this is one that definitely leaves a lot to be desired, but his hairstyle, his beard, and the lack of a hat option makes it hard in this game. I'm sorry. But it looks like a younger-ish version of him. Same thing with John Hancock. Lack of a hat and beard options kind of make him stand out. Gamester 81 with beard. Then it goes to Nerdy Nick with beard. Then we have bandana wearing beardless Gamester 81. Then clean shaven Nerdy Nick 91. Completionist Gerard. And then I made like a wrestling-esque design, like shirtless jean version, which just... Because at some point in time I had to be somewhat original, or else everyone's going to be a bunch of shirt-wearing, jean-wearing people if I made them all too realistic. So some costumes had to be original-ish. Then it goes to Scott Squatch. Sorry. With normal weird gear. And then one with him wearing like a singlet, like a wrestling attire. Then we go to Pro Jared. With, normal standard Pro Jared. Then one when he used to have the beard. And then it goes to Gilly the Kid. Which includes the blonde-haired version. Which, behold, I finally found out he had a blonde-haired version. That he had his hair blonde at some point. And then I go and look on his channel, see newer videos. I'm like, oh, he already went back. Well, I'm behind the times. Then we go to Chadtronic, which isn't necessarily affiliated with the Game Chasers. I don't think they've ever interacted with him per se, at least in my knowledge. But I've seen him in their comment sections numerous times. Green shirt version kind of makes him look like Shaggy. And then that should go to Nintendo Normal, and then Nintendo Blue Suit, which he has like a multicolored suit. But obviously the options are not there, so I just went with the light blue because it makes him stand out. 7th level. 7th level. Then we have Black Nerd Comedy, Andre. And then Rue from Clan of the Grey Wolf. And his option, and it goes to Echo 036 for 2nd. Goes right back to Norm for the 3rd. And it goes back to Echo for the 4th. And that's page 2. Then we get to page 3, which starts with Grimsy, which I think the head turned out decent. And I've been doing this without telling who everyone is. Okay, let me go back. That's Vince. This is Shane, Vince, Big Show, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett. I am blanking on who John Riggs was. Games Ready 1 is Test. Completionist was Mark Henry. Pro Jared was D'Lo Brown. Chadtronic, I'm blanking on. I think it's Meat. 7th level is, I think, Hardcore Holly. And Rue was, I think, Jerry Lawler. Grimsy's Al Snow. I think the head turned out decent. The body could use a little bit of work. Crap, I already went over. Then we got Drunken Master Paul, which isn't necessarily connected to the Game Chasers, but is connected to Metal Jesus Rocks. And is a pretty decent game. YouTuber. Another costume for Grimsy. Another costume for Drunken Master Ball. Then we go to Rufus. You should know him from the Game Chasers channel, namely on Shady J. This is Do Love. And then that's his costume from SmackDown vs. Raw 1. Then we have Grindhead Jim, which definitely lacks the hat and lacks the beard. But at least I made the face look decent enough that it looks like a smaller beard version of him. And then I guess it was original, I gave him a costume kind of based off his logo, which is like a dragon. Like a green, black, and yellow dragon. So he got like a cool, interesting outfit, so he stands out. Shane Lewis Rerez. I am blanking on who this is. I think it's Thrasher. Red shirt version. Goes to Scott the Waz and Kadikarus. Both of these I almost am certain the Game Chasers don't really know or have interacted with. But like I said, I was trying to include YouTubers that stood out and were like, you know, I would say big name in gaming YouTubers. Also, versus the world, you have to have a wide array of, you know, people anyways, so it has to be people that don't include them as well. Irate Gamer, this is definitely D'Lo Brown, Godfather, blue shirt version. And it goes to NES Complex, which severely lacks from the beard, severely lacks from the head, from the lack of a hat, but I think it turned out decent. Retro Rick. Then it goes to Jimmy from Gaming Room Trading Post, version A and version B. Had to do a reference to that because of their channel. Stop Skeletons from Fighting, which I think is... I forgot who this is. Some of these I'm not blanking on who I edited. Oh, I think this is... I don't know. But then I did Happy Video Game Nerd. Remember when it used to be called the Happy Video Game Nerd? I did a reference to that. Like I said, lots of Easter eggs, lots of references. Then it goes to SFX Leon, which, well, not a YouTuber, which some of these characters aren't. He did help make the movie, I believe, and he's on Twitter, and he's seen his character and he loves it. And it does look decently like him. Then we have Pixel Dan, which goes to JonTron, and I think JonTron turned out, I mean, that's literally almost perfect. Then we have beard version of Pixel Dan. Then we get suit version of JonTron, you know, like when he did the Titanic stuff. Booziest of beat-em-ups. See, references. I like to make a lot of references. Pete Dorr, who I'm going to say was almost not going to be in the game. I created him, and I'm like, I don't know how much they know him. And then after that, I found out that they know him very well. So I'm like, oh, he's staying. Yeah, I will say there were certain characters that did get cut from this game. Sega Lord X was originally going to be in here, as was Peanut Butter Gamer. Those two were cut during development of me editing this roster. And then it goes to secondary costume. Then we got RGT85, which this I'm blanking on who with that taunt that is. I think that, oh yeah, that's Cactus Jack. RGT and Pete Dorr are Cactus Jack. Then we got the last YouTuber page and the first actual edit in this game. Angry Video Game Nerd, which is a total custom-made character. Short sleeve version 2. Then, of course, Mike Matei with secondary version. They've interacted with both of them. They're both icons on YouTube for the gaming scene, especially Angry Video Game Nerd. They both had to be there. I had to throw in a tribute to Keeb, even though he didn't come out as great as I would have hoped because, you know, technically, you know, the smallest you can make a person is 5, but, you know, feet, but I think he turned out good, and it's a nice tribute to a character who, you know, he was a big YouTuber back in the day. They all know him. He made an impact on the Game Chasers channel. I had to include him. Also, it relates with my thing on 8-Bit Eric, because I made the whole Ministry of Darkness. If you've ever seen the Game Chasers animated videos, the whole him trying to get the top loader and stuff, it's all based off of that. So when he comes out, he's managed by Keeb, which also the version when 8-Bit Eric licked his nipple. Then we have a joke character in Mini J, which is also a character they created in the video games. And my own troll character, Troll Dodongo. And this is Paul Bearer, too, the spot. OK Chief is Blue Meanie. OK Chief. Then we go to Boogie, and his two costumes. And I was a little original there with his blue pants. Spoonie is, I think, Michael Hayes. And then we got secondary Spoonie costume. Then we got Gabo from Pixel Game Squad. And then we got Spivey! Like I said, bunch of references. Go to another tribute character in Jew Wario. Too bad I could not do the yellow hat, because you hardly ever saw him back in the day without his hat. But I think the face turned out decent-ish. And I did focus and reference the whole yellow because of Wario, which also tied into the fact that I made a secondary costume Wario's outfit. And then it goes to Francis from Classic Game Junkie. And he's in there too. Then we have the guys from Continue, which that was the biggest thing. And this is, I think, Albert and Draws, I believe. This is the biggest thing I included, mostly just because they had to come out, together by management, and I had to make sure whoever I put on these two spots made sense as a channel. And I do think Continue is a pretty decently big gaming channel, and I'm not entirely sure if the Game Chasers know them, but like I said, I threw in people like Kadikris, like Scott the Woz, like Radical Reggie and stuff, people that I think are just big enough, well-known gaming celebrities and gaming, personalities on YouTube. Then versus in the world, they also have to fight people that they don't know. We got Paul, the last couple years with his mustache, glasses, and longer hair. This is old Paul from a few years ago. And then another version of long-haired Paul. And then the last costume is Josh. And then you got Nick, and then Josh. So Josh, it's a double moveset. I did this, like I said, the same with Rob Band, double moveset. Depending on what costume you pick, you get a different moveset. And then there's me. And I did kind of contemplate on not including me, but then I'm like, it's my game. I should probably put myself in it. So this is a version of me. Sniping is fun. And then Tommy Detroit. If you guys have ever watched my CKW stuff, that's my wrestling character's name, is Tommy Detroit. And then third and fourth costumes are Video Game Mike, which is a big throwback to episode 1 of the Game Chasers, and then I think episode something else in season 1 or 2. So I had to. That's a big reference right there, and then that makes all the YouTuber pages. That's a lot of people. So then we get to the video game section, and you can't have that without Mario. And Mario and Luigi are Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe. Pat Patterson. Then we got normal blue costume, blue overalls like Mario, and then red overalls Mario. Because remember, back in the day, the overalls were the colors red and green, especially in the '93 movie, and then all the old cartoons and all the old 8-bit, 16-bit games. Before they changed the overalls to blue and then just made the undershirt and stuff all the color. So there's that. Then there's the Fire Flower design. And then I gave Mario a Wario design. Luigi, like I said, normal outfit, green overalls, Fire Flower, and Waluigi. Then we have Bill Rizer from Contra. Bill Rizer, Lance Bean, which are Farouk and Bradshaw. I'm forgetting who's who, but it's the Acolytes. It's the APA. And for their costumes, it's a mix of all different kinds of things throughout Contra. I think this is classic design. Their first costume is classic. This costume, these two costumes are like the 3D era, like all the newer Contra type designs. And then we get another classic design. This is, I think, based off like an action figure slash, those little display figurine type things. Lance Bean, classic design. newer design. the classic design / figurine. Then we have Lord Dracula. This is a lot of creative take because I could not make a character that looked exactly like Dracula, but I think I came up with a fairly decent, not dollar store version, but at least in between a dollar store version and Castlevania Dracula. And I think it turned out pretty decent. And a slightly younger version of him too. And then the reference in his character, there's Alucard. And Genya Arikado, which is like modern day disguising himself as a Japanese man, Alucard. Simon Belmont. Also, Dracula is Gangrel. And then I made Simon Belmont Edge and Richter Belmont, you'll see next, as Christian, so that they come out together as a as a kind of like the Brood kind of a thing. So we have classic Simon Belmont. And then we have, like, during that late 90s into the early 2000s, like Simon Belmont era, where they tried to make him with the red hair and all edgy looking. This is particularly, I think, the PS1 version of Simon Belmont. Then, I got creative because I wanted to throw in more Belmonts. You get a Soleil Belmont, which is a lot to leave to be desired, but I think Soleil is a major Belmont that needs to be represented. And Juste Belmont, which turned out a lot better. Crap. Okay, press the wrong one. Then we got Richter, which this is his classic Rondo of Blood design. And then I tried to go for somewhat of a Symphony of the Night design. And then we get Julius Belmont and Trevor Belmont, which could use a lot of work. Then the creative activity and me, Solid Snake. This is Ken Shamrock. We got Solid Snake. Then we got Big Boss Snake, regular Snake, Naked Snake, so the father. Then we get Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5. And we ended off with Liquid Snake. The only one I didn't do would be Solidus, but no one really cares about Solidus, so there you go. Then we get to page 2. Billy and Jimmy Lee from Double Dragon. You have to have them in there. They're the Christopher Taylor, Scott Taylor, Christopher, whatever the hell. Sky Too Hottie, Grandmaster Sexy, Too Cool, Too Hot, Too whatever. That's them. So I think it's like the classic designs, or Super Double Dragon, I believe, actually. Or 22 minutes, okay. Then we get lighter colors, which is, I think, more of a classic design. Then this is more of a modern design. And then blonde-haired version. It's all different versions. It's just like what I did with the Belmonts and with, like, Bill Reiser and Lance Bean. Like, different versions, like different fan art, different promotional art, different artwork. So NES era, Super Nintendo era, different versions of Billy and Jimmy Lee. And I also named him Bimmy, the misspell. There you go, AVGN. We got Jimmy, like a classic design. Jimmy, other classic design. More of a modern-ish design. And then that's definitely a more modern design. Then we got Little Mac, which is also, like you see, is an original character with the gray background. I made his own moveset. I tried to make it as close to a boxer as possible. We got actual standard black shirt, green and white shorts for him. Then we got one of the alternate cut, things with the black and red shorts and the yellow shirt. Then we got the pink jumpsuit. And then I put in Mac from Super Punch-Out, blonde-haired version. And there you go. No shirt. Then we got Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter. They're the Hardy Boys. So I think Ryu is Matt and Ken is Jeff, if I recall correctly. And we got Ryu, standard, green alt. We got Evil Ryu in there. And then I put in Akuma, which I think turned out pretty damn decent with Undertaker's face. And we got Ken, standard red. Ken, blue, purple alt. Violent Ken. And Sean Metsuda, his protege from Street Fighter 3. Then we got Link, which is another custom character. Total different moveset. We got green, and that is a lot to be desired creatively using the Headbangers outfit. And so I kind of went for a classic design of Link, but kept the gauntlets from like Ocarina of Time and onward, like adult Link from Ocarina of Time onward. So I kind of mishmashed Link together. I think it turned out decent. I could do a much better Link in No Mercy. Got red alt, the red tunic, blue tunic, and then purple tunic. So it's pretty much 4 swords right in this game. Then we got Mega Man, the original character. I used the blue hair and tried to make it look like a helmet, and it actually turned out pretty damn good, actually, all things considered. And then I did the helmetless version. Then we got Proto Man in there, which kind of turned out pretty decent. And Bass, which I think turned out pretty damn good. Then we got the Crash dummy from, like, you know, those toys. That's what I mean. First and foremost, for those that played WrestleMania 2000, you would know that there is a Crash dummy alt to, if you copy one of the female characters over and change their costume, you can make a Crash dummy. So I wanted to include that regardless. But this is a reference to the old toys, like the Crash dummies, the ones that got like video games and stuff. So it's a reference to that, which is why all the different colors, like blue, red, yellow, and I think white. Yep. That's video game page 2. Let's go to the last video game page. And this is where I got super creative and made a bunch of different characters on different spots. We got Pit, and all these are custom characters. All of them are total customs. We got Pit, which I think the Headbangers outfit turned out a lot better with. And I went for more of a classic Pit, too, not necessarily the Pit from like Smash and from Uprising, even though it turned out to look similar to that. Then we got Kunio and Ricky from the River City franchise, the Kunio-kun franchise. And then we have the secretly hidden Ultra Dodongo, which looks a lot like Repo Man. Kazuya Mishima from Tekken didn't turn out that bad. It turned out pretty good. I like it. It looks pretty good. Then Jin Kazama. Then we got Harang and Eddie Gordo. Ganondorf, which I'm actually surprised turned out as decent as it is. It's a very Ocarina of Time Ganondorf mixed with a little bit of Twilight Princess. And we got Sagat from Street Fighter, and then King Slender from Pro Wrestling on the NES. And then the secretly hidden Ultra Chris, which was a mix of Surfer Sting mixed with Macho Man. Chris Redfield. And then we got Leon Kennedy, both from Resident Evil, James Bond, and then Jax from Mortal Kombat. Dr. Eggman, which I actually am surprised turned out as decent as it is. Then we got Revolver Ocelot. So you got loads of Metal Gear Solid, loads of Metal Gear, loads of Castlevania characters in this game. And then we got Leisure Suit Larry. And then we got the secretly hidden Ultra Melvor, which isn't really based off a single wrestler. It's just kind of like Melvor as a pirate. Then we go to Captain Falcon, which just like Mega Man, I used the hair, that big floofy hair kind of as a helmet thing, which actually, surprisingly, turned out pretty damn good. Mike Hagar from Final Fight. Duke Nukem. And Zangief from Street Fighter. So there's a lot of Street Fighter characters in here. It's definitely a Street Fighter, Tekken, Metal Gear, and Castlevania filled roster. Yep. Then we got the very creative, not really great, but I wanted to throw it in here anyways just because I thought it was a cool idea. Black Mage from the Final Fantasy franchise. Also, they do have a Black Mage created wrestler from back in the first SmackDown vs. Raw, so it's kind of a throwback to that too. Psycho Mantis from Metal Gear. Once I saw the mask, I wanted, just like they did with their games, I went by what was given as options for me. Rad Spencer from Bionic Commando. I went for the classic design from the NES era, but with the mustache from, I think, the modern day remake of it. And then the secretly hidden Ultra Tim, which just like Melvor was a hidden, like just a made up, like, I'll make him look kind of like a Road Warrior pirate kind of a thing. Then we go to Johnny Cage. Liu Kang. Sub-Zero. And Scorpion, which I went for Scorpion from like MK MK10 or MK11. It's more so specifically like MK10. And then the Sub-Zero one is MK3. Since obviously I couldn't do masks, I went for the unmasked version of them. And then we get to the ladies in there, because you can't... If I could edit them, I would. But you can't fix up the women. So, Game Chasers, when you get this game, you still have access to Chyna, Stephanie, Ivory, Jacqueline, Deborah, Tori, and Terry Reynolds. There you go. And then we get to the miscellaneous, the last page. And like I mentioned with the 8-Bit Eric thing, with Keeb, it's all based off the animated, like Game Chasers movies, videos back in the day, like the Christmas specials and the Halloween specials. And we got the Alien, which, they got abducted. They abducted people and everything. So we got, and this is Midian. And then blue version, so purple, blue, red, and then green. And then we got, lo and behold, this character, I'm not going to say it because I don't want my channel, YouTube, to come after me. So, Franken, you know what? 4 different versions of him. And I made him look more like a Frankenstein design rather than Billy's head. So he stands out more and is more of an original character rather than just a giant freaking Frankenstein Billy. Also, I think the whole face I use, I think this is Midian's face. And it's Viscera. That's a Viscera. And then we get to the creme de la creme, the last 2 characters. Ultra Billy and Ultra J. Now, the Ultra Tim, Ultra Melvor, Ultra Dodongo, and Ultra Chris were all last-minute additions, and I felt a little wrong for not giving them fully created characters. Because Ultra Billy and Ultra J were kind of planned for a long while to give them their own fully created characters. But in the end, I made those last costumes for Tim, Chris, Melvor, and Dodongo. These are full-fledged, all 4 costumes are these characters. So we got a design that's kind of like NWO Hulk Hogan for Billy. Then we got more of like a superhero design, like blue shirt, red pants, Sting face paint. So Surfer Sting type version of him, just like Chris. Then we get this red and this green and yellow and white design, like original. And then we get Sivo Mortis, which is another character that Billy created, except unlike his, which is like a cruiserweight small guy, this is just Billy dressed up as Sivo Mortis. Then we got Ultra J, another kind of NWO design for him for his first costume. Then I go for a very Road Warrior animal type design for him. Then original like orange and blue type design. You could also say this may be a Goku from Dragon Ball reference. I don't know. But I like the orange and blue together. And then we get to 90s J! From one episode where they showed back in like the 90s and Jay had like blonde short hair and a goatee. So yeah, there's that. And that's the entire roster in a half hour. Oh god. And then before we go anywhere, I want to show the championships belt data. We got the Game Chasers title, the World title, the YouTube title, the Chasers tag, the World YouTube tag, Stream, TV, and Retro. And they all got lineages. So, Game Chasers, when you get this game, it's already going to be a starting point for belts. The Game Chasers' current champion is Jay. World is currently Grimsy. YouTube is currently Tim. Chasers tag is currently Melvor and Dodongo. YouTube tag is the Game Tag duo of Joe and Dave. Stream is Rufus. TV is 7th level. And Retro is AVGN. And let's go back. And then I already have 3 pay-per-views that are already done, completed, and ready for you guys to look at and see who the hell beat each other up. Gamers United in Detroit, Battle for the Grid in Canada, and then Arlington, Texas, Final Encounter, which I'll let you know the last match.